What up, YouTube? 25 years old, not as broke as I was a couple of years ago. And I wanted to do a video on the things that used to keep me broke and kept me from making progress in my life, whether that be money, my fitness, my relationships, stuff that I think holds a lot of young people back, like it did to me. So let's get started. This first one, it's tough, but it's the fear of failure. So this one's pretty sneaky because at first it doesn't look like fear. It's just more of like, I'm not ready yet. Let me do some more research. Let me think about it. But that's probably the biggest fallacy for you, honestly, because you're not trying to move forward. This one for me, S tier. Honestly, it's hard to overcome it. Not gonna lie, I'm still fearful of failing. I think everybody is at a deeper level, but I think it's more about acting regardless of that fear. And a lot of times you figure it out, and the consequences are not necessarily as bad as you think. I feel like fear is in the vague, it's in the stuff that you don't define. So if you sit down and you write down what you're actual fearful of, and then you write down the solutions or the outcomes of those things happening, you're going to see that a lot of it is just your mind creating these monsters, these scary monsters in the dark, because you just don't know. You just got to sit down and write it down and understand, like, what is the worst outcome out of this? Like, will I die? If you're not going to die or go bankrupt by a reasonable amount, anything else is just temporary, because you die, then you can't play the game anymore. If you mess it up real bad, you do something illegal, you go to jail, you can't play the game anymore. So every failure you have from now until death is just kind of temporary. It's kind of crazy to think about, but that was something that used to hold me back from doing a lot of stuff that I wanted to do and making progress in my life in a lot of different areas. The woman in the red dress, this one is both the shiny object syndrome and chasing girls. I didn't want to have two of them in one, but it just came to my mind. If you're a young dude, I think you start to work on yourself and you kind of fall into this trap of, I want to go chase girls, I want to do this and that. I think it's a major trap because, dude, you're going to waste so much energy trying to chase chicks. And on the shiny object syndrome aspect of it, whenever you start a business, it takes a little bit to pay out. So, for example, in the Turo business, I grew it to 10 cars at one point that we had, and we made over six figures in that business alone. But it took 12 months, it took 16 months for the thing to play out and for me to start seeing the consequences of my actions. So you have to start something and not give up in 2 weeks. Like, whatever it is you're doing, whether that be drop shipping, trading, real estate, a new job you started, you have to play it out and you have to try and learn as much as you can. You got to be patient, but also understand that you got to take a lot of action. This one is S tier. I think a lot of dudes, including myself, used to fall for it. I tried multiple different business models. I still do. I start new stuff all the time, but I understand that it takes a little bit of time for stuff to play out. So this one is big too, learning and not doing. So you can see this guy over here reading whatever it is, and then he's working on the machine. You got to work on the machine. Like, this one is super important. I consumed courses, podcasts, whatever it is, and I felt smart. You feel smart. You're reading, you're consuming content, but you're not doing the thing. Like, consuming is not the plan. For the plan is to actually do the thing. So I'll rank this as A, because although I think information is still important, you have to do the thing and not just consume. But you do need information before you do the thing, so you're doing the right things, right? You don't want to be spinning your wheels or just going in the wrong direction for whatever you're doing. So this one's important. Caring about what other people think. This one's big too. I think I've had major breakthroughs on this in the last, let's say, like 2 to 3 years. I wasn't necessarily super self-conscious of what people thought of me, but like anybody else, I was like, hey, like, I want to have a certain persona. I want to have a certain image that I portray. But at this point in the game, dude, I don't really care. I'm just myself. And then whatever comes from it is, a consequence of that. And obviously, I try to be the best version of myself. I'm very respectful and honorable person, but it's just, I don't know. I feel like whenever you're younger, like I am today, or like I was a couple of years ago, whenever you're out of high school, out of college, I feel like you do a lot of things just for other people's perception. So I'll rank this as A. because this used to hold me back a lot. People don't really care about the things you do. They barely care about you. They care more about themselves than you even think. So this one's massive. Not going on social media, this one has been a major one for me. I rank it as B tier because a lot of people, they go on social media and they're creating, but I think consuming social media is probably one of the worst things for you. I used to spend a lot of time on my phone, and a couple of years ago I've deleted Instagram, and I only use it on the weekend times or on a holiday or whenever I'm traveling, and I don't scroll as often as I do. But scrolling and consuming content on social media and not producing anything is killing you, like slowly and slowly. And you've created these habits where you're comparing yourself to these people on Instagram or YouTube, whatever it is, and not taking any action. And guess what? The dudes on Instagram that are flexing the Lambos and shit, they're obviously doing well if they've done a lot of work to get there. But you just think that scrolling through the thing, you're going to get there somehow. And you just think you're behind. But then you don't even understand like how much work it takes to get to that level. And you get lured into this trap that thinking that everybody has a Lambo. Like that's not the case, dudes. Like, at this point, I have a little bit more money than I had a couple of years ago. And I'm not even thinking of buying a Lambo because you understand like money is a tool. And a lot of these guys that are flexing Lambos on Instagram, they're probably selling you the dream and not actually selling you on what to do with the business. I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of times that's the case. So just be wary of that. This one is interesting. Dividend investing. I'll put it as C because you're still investing and dividends are not necessarily evil. But whenever you're in your 20s, and I think up until like your 40s and 50s, honestly, dividend investing is going to hold you back by a large amount. Like, I'm sure you're going to have the SCHD bros in my comments right now saying, look at the performance. We're up 15% in a year to date or whatever. But in my opinion, this is an off year for SCHD. It invests in multiple energy companies and utilities, real estate, and they're crushing it this year because the market has been shaky. But I think you give up so much growth in your early years of a portfolio by investing in dividends. But I only ranked it as C because you're still investing. So you're doing the right things. This one is interesting as well. Not tracking your net worth. And I'll put this as B because if you're making a ton of money and you're moving fast, you might not have time to sit down and nitpick all this stuff and make decisions. And I don't necessarily nitpick my stuff either. I just sit down for 15, 20 minutes at the end of the month and update the money that I saved, my different accounts, where they grew, where they kind of shrank. And this has been a big thing for me because I understand where my money is, if it's growing, if it's not. And it just shows me like where I should improve. Like, am I over indexed on this? Am I under indexed on this? So just take 15, 20 minutes at the end of the month or every 15 days to take account of what's going on with your investments, with your money. Like, are you making more money this month than you were last month? What were some of the levers that you pulled that allowed you to do that? Like, what's the plan for the next 6 to 12 months? Like, these are all important things for you to think about. And you can't really make decisions if you don't have the numbers in front of you. So that's why I think it's important to track your net worth. But it's not necessarily all evil. Last year, I didn't really do it. I'll be honest. The year prior, I barely did it. And I was fine. But now having that much more clarity into my numbers, I can take more aligned and educated action on what I should do. This one is crazy too. So thinking that everything is going to explode if you risk your stuff and you're not safe. I think playing it too safe, and this is what I wanted to get with this, it's probably costing you a lot. I'll rank this as B because maybe you're investing in bonds. Maybe you're just doing a job that you're comfortable and you don't want to move into a new industry because this is what you've been doing for the last year or two. Like, if you're in your 20s, your 30s, honestly, at any time of your life, you still have time to change your course. It's never too late, I think, in my opinion, to change your career, to change what you do for work, or just try to make more money on the side, starting a side hustle, whatever it is. I think you have to go and take some risk. And if you just kind of sit there and think about it, all the things that could happen if you lose. A lot of times I think things are not as bad as they play it out in your mind. or as good as they play it out in your mind. I think having a little bit of money is good. Don't get me wrong. You have financial stability. You have more options for your life. You can take bigger swings, but it's not going to cure whatever you have or make you happier. And the whole money doesn't make you happier. It's true to an extent, because if you have no money, then it's tough. I've never been poor. Like, I've never not had food in the table or shelter. I've always had shoes and clothes and education, a lot of love from my parents. But so I don't know how it is to actually not have money. Whenever I started taking it serious when I was 16 and 17, I started with just a couple $100. And I know what it feels to kind of pinching pennies whenever you're young and trying to make more money at any rate. B, and maybe even A, but even if you play it safe throughout your whole life, the system's designed for you to win at the end. If you're somewhat aggressive with it, like opening a 401k or investing in your Roth, if you just do those two things for the remainder of your life and you work a job, you're going to be able to retire at 60 with a couple $1,000,000. And that's a good life for a lot of people. Not necessarily for me, I think. I don't want to work 40 years and just hope that I have a couple $1,000,000 at the end of the journey. So take that with what you will. But, if you do the right things, you'll be fine. That's why I ranked it as B and not necessarily as S of like the worst thing I've done. But let's get into the last one, over diversifying. And again, I'll put it as C, and nothing will go on D today, I suppose. But if you're over diversifying, it could actually cost you a lot in the long run. This is one of the biggest mistakes I think people make. They go, oh, I have to buy 20 stocks, I have to buy 50 stocks, over diversified portfolio. Guys, if you just buy an ETF, if you buy more than 20 stocks in your portfolio, you're actually more diversified, and you're too diversified to a point. And it doesn't make any sense for you to just buy 20 stocks. Just buy an ETF at that point. Like, you got to have a couple of positions to the core that you understand and that you're convicted of in maybe a couple of different industries, but don't just buy 20 tech stocks because you think they're cool. Like, this is just stupid. Just buy the Qs and you'll be better off. So over diversifying is also a big killer of wealth, but I'll rank it as C because, again, you're just investing and you probably pay out for you if you keep investing. You just might not make as much money as you would if you play it right. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, let me know in the comments where you guys would have placed any of these and anything I missed. And I'll talk to you guys soon.